Okay.
Hi.
Welcome to Hurting Little Cow.
What?
Hurting Little Cows.
This is not going to go
For the glory of God. To the glory of God.
Okay, we're not trusting you with any courtship decisions.
Okay,
Can't
never
even
mind.
speak.
Never mind.
Just
Okay, I'm
kidding.
taking my glasses off. So, our video tonight is about courtship. No one is
This
courting.
not an announcement.
Yes, this is not an announcement. Whatever I said, the picture I showed last week is not a pregnancy announcement. We're just trying to weird you guys out, okay? So,
Is it working?
we've been talking about courtship recently because we have two girls who are getting closer to courtship age, one being closer than the other. Virginia is 19, Naomi is 15. Then we have lots of little people coming up the ranks. And we've never done this courtship thing, so we're trying to figure it out. And so we're going to have like an open discussion about things we've talked about. And then you guys can weigh in on the comments. And if we don't like your comment, we might just delete it. I'm just being honest here.
It's more
If
likely
we-
if I don't like your comment, I'm going to respond.
And you
And
might
then
not like her.
You might wish I deleted it.
So anyway,
So if you think he's going to disagree with it, count the cost
No.
before posting.
we want to have input, but we want that input to not just be people's
Opinions.
feelings and opinions. We want it to be scripture and what scripture says. And we have found that there's a lot of narrative about marriage and courtship and betrothal and whatever you want to call it in the Bible, but there's not a lot of actual teaching
No.
in the Bible of specific what does it look like. We know a lot of what marriage is supposed to be, but how do you get there? That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, there's deals with dads, and there's working off and finding out what color sheep are born, and there's all kinds of weird stuff that they use in the
Catching
Bible.
mice.
Catching
I
mice at the
I don't think they're necessarily prescriptive in our quest for biblical pursuing of marriage. So we want to pursue marriage biblically.
But
The
there
right
are
reasons.
rash vows, so if the woman wants to marry somebody and daddy says no,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one,
Gonna nullify.
Naomi.
That he can nullify a vow.
The Bible does say that a father can nullify his daughter's vow, well, his wife's vow and his daughter's vow, when he hears about it. So if she gets all ooh, goo goo gaga for some guy, and she says, Daddy, I'm gonna marry Joe Schmo, and he says, no, you're not, well, that vow is done then.
Green Jay.
So,
I'm sure that'll be the first point where somebody's going to argue with us. So
probably.
get over yourself.
So, in number
We're just talking about what we're trying to do. Like, how do we work through this whole thing? How do we think about how to approach?
so for
Should a young man approach a young woman? Should a young man approach the young woman's father, or whatever?
Okay, so we're going to say right now, because some people who are tuning into this, some people find us through weird ways. I don't know how Facebook shows you our things. We are not saying arranged marriage. Now, we're not saying that God can't make an arranged marriage work and everything, because everything is in God's sovereign will. But we don't see in the Bible where it says that daddy is supposed to go say, when we have a daughter born, okay, in 18 years you're going to marry Joe Schmo. Right. Joe Schmo's our name for today. Okay, we're just going to put, we in the past
Better
have
than
put
Joe
names with people we know, and that always fails.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Sometimes
better than Joe Smith, because then we all think of Joseph Smith, and nobody
Yeah.
wants to marry Joseph Smith.
sometimes when we put a name to it, it's somebody who, that could be a possibility for the future. Sometimes the name we put it with it is, well, you're never going to marry that person, so we can put that person's name in. So Joe Schmo's not getting married. We don't know any Joe Schmo's, but if God brought a Joe Schmo from Montana.
Okay, we
Who's
have no
anybody
friends
from
in Montana that
Montana?
Virginia's planning to
Oh,
marry or
hi,
anything.
He was a Credo
Wait,
Baptist.
Nick?
And he was
You just said Nick.
The
Nick
message
wrote.
popped up.
Oh, I was like, Nick's not from Montana. I'm married.
Sorry.
we were
so-
talking about something.
Yes.
So,
What were we talking about?
I was saying that we are not advocating arranged marriage.
Yes, not advocating arranged marriage.
I don't ever feel the need, like, this is a thing that's different. I don't ever feel the need to, like, explain what, you might be thinking this other thing than what I'm actually saying. I just say what I'm saying, and I mean, what comes out of my mouth is exactly what I meant.
But what
And
you're
you'll go into
And so you shouldn't, so if there's some subtlety hidden somewhere in something I've said tonight or will say later on.
He didn't get it.
It wasn't intentional.
Mark doesn't get subtlety, and he also doesn't understand how I or other people can say something and think, oh, someone's going to take it this way. Because he just very blatantly says what he's thinking and thinks that everybody understands it exactly the way he said it. Even if there could be a second interpretation of it, he just assumes that everybody understood it the way he meant it. Right? Because he just doesn't think through that, where I can start saying something and think, uh-oh, someone's going to think this, and correct it there.
So you're still trying to figure out
Just
each other's
how our-
thought processes after 20 years of marriage?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We just had a discussion yesterday about things we thought about differently. Not bad.
Communication is a lifetime pursuit.
We have an Abigail. She's not part of our discussion. What do you need, Abigail?
You're a little young for courtship.
I'm sorry. You can heat or ice, okay? Okay, love you. And water. Okay.
Good night.
Oh, okay, we have... Oh, Walmart wants my customer experience.
Mama, how much longer till my
Forever.
Till you're what?
doctor is
Oh, you have a chiropractor on Wednesday.
Well, there.
Okay,
That's done.
so
Okay, so we're not talking about arranged marriage.
we're not talking about arranged marriage.
We're talking about men who lead their families in love and grace and sacrifice and a lot of other things, but do indeed lead their families.
Not
And-
just a dad who wants to be a tyrant and doesn't actually lead his family,
Right.
but feels he needs to have the final
No,
say on this particular
you know,
point.
the Alexander Strupp book, Leading with Love, had a lot for you. Leading with Love, read that.
Men, go read it.
Yeah, it's an excellent book. Anyway, men that are raising children, like husbands and wives, mom and dads that are raising children in the fear and admonition of the Lord are looking for and expecting, I think, I'm going to say expecting marriage to be normal.
Yeah.
You know, before the age of probably 21, 22 maybe, I don't know, maybe 25. Culture's a little different in different places, but like, I wouldn't expect, I would expect a young lady to be still living at home, still pursuing her dad and, you know, like her mom and dad's vision for their family, while also branching out on her own to do independent ministry, because like eventually her ministry is going to be independent from the greater family, but also it may go very different directions.
Right, so like I'm a part of the family, but I'm not a slave. And like I'm not just this is the mold of children in the house do this, so you're gonna do this. Like I'm able to write books. I'm able to reach out to other ministries and do things even apart from the family, but still with the home as the like main hub. Like the main place is the home. And so while I live here and daddy's still taking care of me, yes, there are things that I do. Yes, I help with some meals, I wash some dishes, that sort of thing. But it's living as an adult in the home. It's not, well, this is,
So a lot
I don't
of
know what to say.
No,
I don't know
Because
what
for some
I don't know
people,
what
I
to
mean,
say.
we were thinking about these kind of things when you were like 14, 15. Like, when is this going to come along? We don't really know.
Right.
Now that you're 19 and it hasn't actually begun yet for you, I think we have a lot more time to have processed things and met other people, asked more questions.
Well, and we
more
also
experience.
have, she's now an adult living in our home. So for Virginia, she graduated at 17. In the state of Maine, we have to homeschool through 17, giving paperwork to the state. And Virginia was ready to graduate at that point. That doesn't mean that Naomi will necessarily be ready. Not that she's behind or anything, but just for Virginia, this is the course that she's on right now. Each child might be different, so I'm not saying that 17 is when we graduate each person, is what I'm saying. Not Naomi's doing probably is on par with Virginia, but she's only 15, so I'm talking about Virginia right now. So Virginia graduated at 17 and has gained responsibilities along with gaining privileges
Right.
in our home. So we now have an adult daughter living in the home who has unique circumstances that we haven't dealt with before. If some of you know, we had a son who's 26. I mean, we still have a son, but he's not here in the house anymore.
Not living in the house.
No longer have a son at 26 in the house.
Right. He moved out of our home before he was fully an adult living in our home. He moved out right at the end of schooling. So we haven't gone through this, what's it like to have an adult child living in the house until marriage. Nathaniel has stayed with us for short periods of time in between, but it was more of a short stay, knowing it was a short stay, as opposed to Virginia. If Virginia doesn't get married until she's 25, we believe that a woman in the Bible always has a head, and that head is her father, or that head is her husband. Like it even talks about, is it the Levitical priest daughters, if they get married and become widowed, they go back to their father's household?
Yeah, if their husband dies, they can still go eat of the the priesthood foods. They're brought back into that family. But the idea being you're not separated entirely from your family. None of us are anyway.
Right.
We add to our families, actually. We expand our families in different directions.
Which is the idea of we believe that a adult daughter should stay in the household, continuing her father's vision for the family.
Preparing herself for marriage. And not just preparing, but doing ministry.
Right.
Like serving in any of all the different ways that you guys do, which is a long list. Pursuing education, all those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. That's what you guys do.
And I think also the other thing is there should be a level of independence that women have, not like to advocate feminism, but I shouldn't have to ask for every little step of every little thing or need somebody to guide me through the day, because I'm supposed to be preparing to be a helpmeet for my husband, not to be a helpless damsel that can't do anything.
Oh,
Someone who
husband,
needs
it's
instructions
9
all the
a.m.
time.
What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Go brush your teeth, honey.
He doesn't- Well, I mean, the 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, you give them chore lists. You have to instruct them as to what's expected of them. By the time you get to 19, if you haven't figured out, we got up and we got left.
So, low
just
battery.
hit close. It should keep going. We just can't talk forever.
Okay.
Okay.
Go
So,
back.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, the other thing is, in marriage, not that God will immediately bless every Christian couple with children, but it is a very regular thing that's how God chooses to bless people.
you're gonna
And
get a
so a woman should have the level of responsibility and knowledge and independence that she's able to care for a child shortly after marriage, if that's how God chooses to bless you.
Yes.
Which can't be done if you're just trying to stay a perpetual child in your father's house.
Yeah. So, Mark was saying about the chore lists for the younger kids. We do have chore lists for the younger kids to follow, and here's what you need to do. I mean, for the 2.5-year-old, his chore every morning is to take trash cans, like the little trash cans, like these ones, to the big trash can in the kitchen and dump them out. He sometimes needs someone to walk room to room with him for it to happen, because he forgets what he's doing. He picks up a book. He just decides he doesn't want to do it, and we have to lead him through. No, this is your job. This is what you're doing to help the family. I don't have to help Virginia in the kitchen and say, okay, Virginia, now remember your next step is to do this. She knows how to do these things. And while we're all perpetually learning, so she might have a question of, hey mom, can you come check to see if this food is done, in the oven? Does this look cooked enough or whatever? I mean, I still do that occasionally. My mom works trying to get something over here. My mom lives in the backyard.
No, I'm trying to put something down my back.
My mom lives in a house in the backyard, and there are times that we're making, you know, Christmas cookies that are her thing. You know, she's the one who always makes the cookies, and I'll ask her like, "Oh, are these done, or do they need another minute?" Like, I don't. That's not a childish thing. But Naomi is 15, and she doesn't need directions all the time. She needs instruction a little more than Virginia in that she hasn't cooked all the things Virginia has. You know, like that type of thing. But like, for the school day, I don't say, okay, Naomi, you need to make sure you do this, this, and this. Like, at the end of the day, she's like, hey, Mom, guess what new word I learned in Spanish? Or I was doing that math thing we talked about, and I, you know, need help with this little section because I couldn't find your price. She's doing, like, a grocery thing right now. But it's not I have to tell Naomi, like, okay, Naomi, did you remember that you're supposed to do math today? You're supposed to do math every day.
Like,
Did
when
you check
can
it
I
off your
find?
list? She doesn't have like a checklist. She knows what's expected of her. And as we get older, more is expected. Virginia, we want to get our children to a place, hopefully before courtship even starts, and I feel Virginia's at this point, but we want to get them at a place where if a courtship were to start tomorrow, I didn't feel a rush to get Virginia ready to manage her own household. I want her at that point, and Virginia is very capable of managing the household. She took over for Mommy when Josiah ended up in the hospital.
I was just thinking of that time when I was like 11 and you broke your arm. How many days did I put off washing that roaster?
So when I was pregnant with Abigail 7+ years ago, I broke my arm, and Virginia took over doing a lot of, like, I was still able to correct children and everything, but she would like sometimes have to bring me the child. She would have to help me get up so that I could accompany someone to the bathroom because I couldn't stand up by myself.
There's certain things.
Once I got up, I was okay. But she found out during that she really didn't like washing dishes. Naomi was not super helpful during that because Naomi was like 7. So while Naomi tried to help in that, she only had so many skills at that point. So Virginia did.
And I was small.
And you were small.
You were a little
So Virginia did a great job at that age taking over, but that Mommy was right there to say, okay, Virginia, we're going to need grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch. You need to get out the bread. You need to get out the cheese. Turn the griddle onto this. Like, that was very much instructing from the couch, and she did a great job with that. But when we took Josiah to the ICU this past year, like earlier in the year, with his seizure, that was a middle of the night. I suddenly had to leave, and Virginia had to take over making sure people got their meals and stuff. For those who are watching this video that don't understand this, Mark has dystonia, and so he doesn't remember a lot of stuff sometimes. That's not to be rude. Like, I'm not saying.
And they
that to
make
be rude.
random movements and then do.
So that's
Part
not,
of the watching is to make sure that he remembers to eat his meals.
so Mark wouldn't think, oh, it's 7:00 in the morning. Like, he might think, oh, I should feed them breakfast because like we get up and get dressed and then we eat breakfast.
But he might
probably
think,
would
oh,
remember that.
I'm hungry. Oh, why are they all looking at me? They might want something too.
Like, lunchtime he wouldn't think, oh, it's 11, they're probably wanting lunch. He just wouldn't think through that. So this isn't to be mean to Mark. Please don't look at these videos the same.
I have a neurological disorder, and we all know about it.
Right.
But it's also very helpful to have him because the kids, I'm not their parent, so even though I can watch them, that doesn't mean that I have the same authority as a parent, and they know that. And so to have a parent that I can be like, hey, go see Daddy.
You need to do that. No.
You're not Mommy.
Virginia very much
No.
managed the household though while I was gone, because it was one of those, like, whenever I'm ready, getting close to having a baby, I get like certain meals that the kids are all excited about. We plan certain activities so that they have something to look forward to. This was a totally out of the blue, Mommy's suddenly gone for 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? 3 days? Yeah. And so Virginia had to take over and make sure everything kept running. And like Naomi helped with everything that Virginia asked her to. But Virginia was the one planning out, like, we're not going to the store till mommy comes home, so here's the foods we have. Let's make sure they last.
Yeah.
They had plenty of food. It was just they couldn't eat, you know, cereal every morning for breakfast if there's not cereal in the house. So
Naomi
it was,
did plan lunch one day. I remember that part.
was it a good lunch?
Yes.
I think we had rice with toppings.
Oh, rice with toppings. That would have
Because
been a
everyone
favorite
liked
for the kids.
it.
So,
Oh wait, it was.
so anyway, what I'm saying in that
That has
is,
something to do with courtship.
Yeah, we're kind of off track.
so what I was going to say with that
The
is
battery's gonna die. We might need to grab a different camera.
we want to make sure that our girls are ready to manage a household when the time comes. And I feel like Virginia is there. I feel like Naomi's getting very close.
I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at Abigail behind you. Continue.
Naomi's very close, but Virginia, we don't want a guy to come along and suddenly be like, okay, mommy has to like stop doing all the other stuff I'm doing so I can prepare Virginia for marriage. We want that step happening before.
And we're not doing any Rachel
what
and
we were
Leah
trying to say.
things, so
Yeah,
if you
no
ask
Rachel
for
and
one,
Leah
you
things.
get that one.
No 2-for-1 deals here. What do you need?
The
Your
dupers.
ear hurts? A heat pack would probably help with that.
I didn't mean you were gonna get two. I meant
Yeah,
you
a
don't
heat
get
pack
one
again.
switched out for the other.
So, anyway,
Hang on.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, whatever you were going to say.
That battery's gonna die.
Yeah,
So
that's
if you want
gonna
to,
die.
we could shut it off here and change to your camera.
Okay, so
That
we're gonna
sounds good. So we'll name this one like preparing before courtship.
yes
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
courtship. Now, how do we get to the courtship? Catch us on the next part on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God.